summer this week, I had to teach pre-K in another county, and we're on fall break this week. And so I've come to help Miss Ramsey because I wanted to come to school even though I had a break. No, I'm in school too, and I need some hours at another school helping teachers. She's not here today, so what we're going to do is read 2 Ways to Count to 10. Our author is Ruby Dees. And then these animals are going to find some different ways to count, and then we're going to do that also and see how many ways we can find. If y'all want to scoot your chairs out and turn around and face me, if you don't have to turn your neck funny, you can. Not too far, because we got to get both chairs out in the middle, just a little bit. Got it? All right. Long, long ago, animals were not so different one from the other. There were different colors, shapes, and sizes, just as they are today, but they lived together in friendship and in peace. The leopard was king, rich beyond telling, mighty in his power and wisdom. All the animals respected their loving king. Who shall I name to rule me after I die? King Leopard said one day to his beloved daughter. I must seek out the cleverest beast in the jungle. I must find one who is wise enough to rule well. I shall make him a prince. Someday, my dear daughter, the 2 of you shall be queen and king. King Leopard was pleased with his idea, and he planned a great feast. His royal drums carried the news of the feast far and wide throughout the jungle. All of the animals came as their guests, and they danced for 3 days. At last, the king told them to make a huge circle. Stepping into the center, he called his daughter to the side, and then he spoke in a loud voice. Listen, friends, he cried. Someday when I'm gone, another king must rule in my place. I will choose him now from among you, so that he will be ready. There was a murmur of excitement throughout the crowd. I shall seek the cleverest among you, for your king must be wise. He shall be the son to me and a husband to my dear daughter. He shall share all of my riches. Shouts from eager guests to the king's feast. No doubt each animal hoped the good fortune would be his. Then King Leopard held up his hunting spear. Look at this, my people. Watch. He flung the spear far up into the air and caught it when it fell to earth again. With this spear I will test you. He who would be our prince must also throw the spear towards the sky. He must send it so high that he can count to 10 before it comes down again. There was a buzz of talk among the animals. This would not be so hard. They thought one after another they came forward to try their skills. But first, each beast sang before the king and his daughter. I will be first, said the leopard, pushing all other beasts out of the way. The leopard danced clumsily. He was very big and his body was heavy. With his trunk in the air, he trumpeted all the fine deeds he would perform as the king. I will be king. I can do this thing, he said. With his trunk, the great beast threw King Leopard's spear into the air. 1, 2, 3, he counted. But before the elephant had set forth, the king's spear dropped to the earth. The proud beast hung his head so low that the tip of his trunk dragged to the ground. He had failed. Next came the bush ox. I will be king. I can do this thing. The huge animal danced. He threw the spear to the sun. The bush ox picked up the spear in his mouth. With a mighty toss of his great head, he flung it far, far and wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, the bush ox counted, but he was too slow. Before he could say 5, the spear was down on the ground, and he went off, ashamed, into the jungle. The chimpanzee was third. He jumped up and down, beating his hairy chest with his fist, singing of how he would like to be king. The chimpanzee rose up on his hind legs and held a spear in one hand, just like a man. I will be king. I can do this thing, he said with a twist of his long arm. He threw it up to the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. He chattered as fast as he could. The animals held their breath. Surely it was such a quick tongue would make the count to 10. But he did not. Just as he said 8, the spear fell into his hand. Then the crowd parted as the lion stepped majestically into the center of the circle. The lion had always wanted to be king anyway, and now was his chance to prove that he was the finest animal of the jungle. With a fling of his mighty mane, he danced and he sang of his royal intentions. I will be king. I can do this, he said. And the other animals looked in awe. The king twirled his tail around the sphere and threw it skyward with a thunderous roar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. As the spear rose higher and higher. Just as he said 9, though, the spear pierced the earth at his feet. He was furious and stomped off. One by one, the other animals tried to count to 10 while the spear was still in the air. One by one, they all failed. It seemed that I must look elsewhere for a beast who was clever enough to rule while I'm gone, said the leopard. Let me try to throw your spear, O king, came a brave voice from the crowd, and stepped out the slender antelope. I would like to marry your beautiful daughter. I will be king. I can do this. Ha 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 ha. The other animals broke into laughter. How could this weak, puny little antelope possibly throw the king's spear high enough to count to 10? How could he count to more than 2 or 3? How could he hope to succeed when the other animals failed? Even the lion failed. But the young antelope would not be turned aside. I wish to try, he insisted. King Leopard nodded his head. Who can say what creature can do this until he's tried? The antelope threw the spear. So the other animals moved back to give him room. He danced. King Leopard's daughter was very pleased. No one could deny that his steps were more graceful than any of the other animals. With a toss of his head, he flung the spear far into the air. Before it called out, he called 5 words. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, he cried. I've counted to 10, King Leopard. Did not say how the count needed to be made. The king laughed and nodded his head. No, I did not say how the count was to be made. And everyone knows one can count to 10 by 2s as well as 1s. Remember, my friends, it's not always the biggest or the strongest, but sometimes the cleverest to win the prize. The antelope won the contest and shall be king. At the wedding feast, which King Leopard gave his daughter, the animals cheered for their clever new prince. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to find a way to count to a number. Let's pass out some paper and pass it down. I think you should have pencils in the baskets in front of you. Take one pencil out. Thank you, sir. Is there everybody have a sheet of paper?
Yes.
Alright, we're passing here. Alright, let's think as a group first before I give you a number. Let's try to think of ways we can get to the number 18. I want to get to the number 18.